Hello everyone, welcome to our English class today. In this video, we are going to learn section C, creative writing. Well, if you want to get good marks in English, you should focus on this creative writing part. So let's see what are the various questions we'll get under section C. So the first one, 35, is conversation, and the syllabus reference is lessons in prose and supplementary reader. So B, it's description or diary entry based on all the lessons in prose and supplementary reader. Question number 36, it's writing a letter, both formal and informal letters. Question number 36 is script for speech, and it is textual based, and maybe you may get general topics also. So especially the syllabus reference is speaking section in the textbook is the major area. And question number 37, so framing WH questions to the underlined parts, a syllabus reference is all lessons in the supplementary reader. And 37B would be information transfer, writing a meaningful paragraph from the given data. It can be a table or tree diagram or bar diagram or pie chart. Well, in this video, we are going to focus mainly on question number 35, and we will see how to write a conversation or a diary entry or a description. Well, here is a student writing profile. I'm sure that this will help you to write better, and it will be useful for both the teacher as well as the student as a checklist. So we will have different types of discourses. So what all you have to do is enter a check if the student has any of the problems listed, or individually you can do a self check. The first one is whether you have followed the format or not. The second one is organization of ideas, and the third one, what is more important, is the handwriting. It should be legible and clear. So the fourth one is what kind of sentence patterns are you using. And now here you have to be very careful that whether are there any errors in spellings or punctuation or the use of the verbs and use of subject verb agreement, and sometimes in use of pronouns, and especially in use of discourse markers. And we will check the errors in word usage or vocabulary. So you have to keep a checklist, and you have to slowly reduce all these errors. Now let's see section C, question number 35, and A is all about conversation based on all the lessons in prose in the textbook and supplementary reader, and B is related to either a description or a diary entry. So syllabus reference based on all the lessons in prose and supplementary reader. Now let's see how to write a conversation first. Well, let's see. Here are some tips for you while writing a conversation. So the first idea is you should have a good beginning, not simply saying like hello, hi, how are you. So here is one kind of beginning. Based on the context, you have to use that beginning. For example, oh, I'm very surprised to see you. So conversation should be related to context and theme, and there should be 8 to 10 exchanges with proper questions like how is your day or any other, and the questions will guide you to write a good conversation. And the next important part is you have to use contractions and punctuation marks carefully. So like, what's that? So it's a question. So you have a question mark and it begins with a capital letter, and there's a contracted form. Like most of the contracted forms you have to use like I'll, like this. Okay? So question tags. This is very important feature that you have to include in a conversation. And question tags in spoken language, we usually we use these question tags to agree with the speaker or disagree with the speaker. So you can use like isn't it or aren't they based on the situation. And another important area is to make your conversation more lively, you have to write proper discourse markers like well, actually, or any of those things required. So variety of sentence patterns is required, like, oh, is it? Really? Not lengthy sentences, you can go with short sentences. And there should be proper conclusion like tring tring, the bell is over, I have to go now, or let's meet tomorrow. Any suitable kind of conclusion related to that context. Now let's look at the question input. Read the question input very carefully. The question number 35A. In a letter to God, Lencho writes a letter to God in despair, asking him to send the required money. He goes to the post office himself to drop the letter in the mailbox. Now, based on your understanding of the story and the characters, write an imaginary conversation between the postmaster and the post office employees after reading Lencho's letter to God. So now you have to identify very clearly how many characters would be there and should be there in your conversation. So here it's not 2 characters. So you have to use 3 or more characters. The question number 35B, you have read the story, A Letter to God. In the story, the hailstorm destroyed Lencho's crop. So he wrote a letter to God. He received 70 pesos. Now describe the thoughts about the farmer's feelings when the farmer received the money. So out of these 2 questions, usually what I suggest you is, if you want to get good marks, the first what I suggest you is try to write conversation. If you are not familiar with the topic, then you can go with either description or diary entry. So now first let's look at the conversation. So conversation between the postman and the post office employees. The postman laughing lightly. Okay, we are giving some clues if you want to set the scene. Look what I found for the first time in whole career. A letter addressed to God. Employee 1 curiously, what? A letter addressed to God? It's so funny, isn't it? Now employee 2 says, it looks really funny. But who is that? I think you're kidding. No, it's true. Can't you believe it? Who is that fool? By the way, what has he written? Now the postman says, he's Lencho, a farmer. He's asking God to send 100 pesos. All the office employees, what do you mean? Does he think God will send him money? And everybody laughs heartily. Now the postmaster enters, comes to the picture. What happened? Why are you laughing? The postman says, sir, actually, I found the letter in the box addressed to God. Postmaster, what? Show it to me? Ah, what a faith. He truly believes God will send him the money. He's not asking for much, just enough to get his crops growing again. So employee 2 interferes. Well, his fields were completely destroyed by the hailstorm. Maybe we should do something to help him. Postmaster nodding, you're right. I don't want to spoil his deep faith in God. Let's help him. All the office employees says, but how can we do that, sir? Let's see what we can gather. We can't send him the full amount, but we will donate as much money as we all can and send it in a letter signed as God. That should keep his faith alive. All the office employees says, that's great. It will keep his faith in God and it will be helpful for him to buy crop and their family will survive. So this is how you can write a conversation, and you can find another conversations and you can practice and you can show it to your teacher. Now let's move to the next question, how to write a diary entry. So first of all, what is more important is the format. So if you look at the format now, so we have to write date, day and time. Dear diary, the first paragraph should be how you felt and why. The second paragraph would be what happened on that day. Write the events in a proper order. And the third paragraph should be personal reflections or decisions you have taken or the future plans after that incident. So you have to write the signature or name of that character, not your name. So here are some tips for you while writing the diary entry. Put the diary entry in box and decorate it. You should empathize the character and write as if you have really been a part of the situation. And write in first person and use past tense. Write in a proper order, like how did you feel on that day? What happened on that day? And what decision have you taken? Use the name of the character who is writing the entry in the place of signature. So you can use some relevant pictures to make your diary entry more lively. So here are some useful expressions to use. So however, we will have either pleasant situation or unpleasant situation. For the pleasant situation, you can say, today is the most memorable day in my life. Or you can say, what a joyful experience I had. So the incident has filled my heart with excitement. I was on the cloud 9 when I heard about my results or any other news. Now you can talk about the unpleasant situations. Try to use one of these expressions. Today is the most painful day in my life as nothing went right on my way. What a horrible day. No one should face such a nasty day or incident. What a dreadful day I experienced today. I felt upset and I was disturbed for the whole day. So these are some of the expressions you can use. Now let's look at. Here is the input for you. Let's look at 35B. Imagine you are the farmer in the story, A Letter to God. Write a diary entry about your feelings when the hailstorm struck and destroyed the crops. So 13th September, Friday, 9 p.m. Dear Diary, today is the most painful day in my life. I woke up with hope in my heart, looking out at the cornfields that were supposed to feed us. The cornfields were almost ready to give us good harvest. We all were expecting a shower, but then the storm came. At first I thought it was just a heavy rain, but suddenly the wind began to blow and large hailstones began to fall. My heart sank. I rushed outside, but there was nothing I could do. I stood there, helpless, watching my entire crop, months of hard work, hope, and dreams destroyed in a matter of minutes. Every plant was flattened, the leaves were torn, the corn scattered across the ground ruined. It felt like the sky itself was punishing me, punishing us. Why, God? Why? I looked up praying for the storm to stop, but it didn't. The land I had poured my soul into was now a graveyard of broken plants and shattered hopes. I was totally disturbed with fear and agony. What will we eat? How will we survive? My family, my children. How can I tell them there's no food coming? I didn't know what to do. There's no way out of this except one. Tomorrow, I'll write a letter to God. He's the only one who can help us now. He knows our struggle, and I have faith that He will listen and He will help us. Lencho. So in the first paragraph, you have seen what happened and how he said that today is the most painful day. And in the second paragraph, you have seen what are the events that happened, took place. And in the final paragraph, you have seen what kind of decision he has taken. So this is how you have to write, and you can write a diary entry. So now 35b, sometimes you may get description of thoughts. Here is the question. You have read the story, A Letter to God. In the story, the hailstorm destroyed Lencho's crops. So he wrote a letter to God. He received 70 pesos. Now describe the thoughts about the farmer's feelings when the farmer received the money. So here is the input. So now let's see some useful tips for writing an effective description. The first idea is use vivid imagery. So maybe visual or auditory. So what all you have to do is paint a picture with words to help the audience visualize the scene. And you have to engage the reader's senses by describing how something looks or feels or sounds or smells or tastes. For example, as Lencho gazed at the destroyed fields, a deep sorrow settled in his heart. All plants were flattened. You can see the visualization. And the corns were scattered. So how will my family survive now? If you want to create some auditory images, you can say, suddenly there was a roar and there were thunders and there were lightnings. This is how you can create the visual or auditory images. And be specific, avoid vague terms, focus on specific details to make your description more engaging. So you can say, Lencho stood still, watching the storm destroy his crops. The land is all we have, he thought. But I believe God will help us start again. So use metaphors and similes. And what we suggest is use comparisons to make descriptions more clear and imaginative. Now let's look at the example. The raindrops are silver coins. The hailstones were like tiny silver bullets. The field after the storm looked like a battlefield with broken plants lying like fallen soldiers. These are some of the similes. You can say the metaphor is they are silver coins, and you can say like tiny silver bullets. It is simile. Focus on the emotional aspect. So capture emotions like fear, joy, sadness, or hope to connect with the audience. So for example, Lencho's heart sank as he stared at the ruined crops, but his faith remained unshaken. So create a mood or tone. Set the tone for the story using descriptive language that matches the mood, such as hopeful or somber or tense. So counting the money, Lencho frowned. Only 70 pesos? God must have sent all 100. The post office crooks must have stolen the rest, he thought angrily. So this is how you can use this type of tips. Now let's look at the description of thoughts, Lencho's thoughts when he received 70 pesos. When Lencho received the money, his emotions were a mix of gratitude, surprise, and frustration. At first, he felt immense relief and joy. He thought that God had listened to his plea for help. However, the joy quickly turned to disappointment and frustration when he counted the amount. Lencho had asked for 100 pesos to replant his crops and ensure his family's survival. But there were only 70 pesos in the envelope. His heart sank. Despite the miracle of receiving help, he was disappointed. He could not believe that God would give him anything less than what he asked for. His faith was so strong that the shortfall could not be a mistake of God's. It might be the result of crooked postal employees. Lencho's thoughts shifted from gratitude to anger. He blamed the postal employees for stealing the rest of the money. His frustration was not with God, but with the postal employees. Despite these conflicting emotions, Lencho's faith remained unshaken. He knew God had given him everything he asked for, but it was the humanity that had fallen short. So, hope you have understood how to write the description of thoughts. Thank you. And what all you can do is try to find out more inputs related to conversations, diary entry, or description of thoughts. And once you have completed, you can show it to your teacher. So let's meet in the next class. Until then, have a nice time.